Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guide. This is another episode of the C programming series. In this video we are going to learn about pointers. So to begin with, let us try to understand what a pointer is, the basic concept of a pointer. So let us first understand go back to what a variable is. So let me create a variable here called x. Now what is this variable called? It's basically a position in the computer's memory, location in the computer's memory which is storing a number. So this is essentially the basic concept of a variable. It's a location in the computer's memory that stores some value. Now a pointer is similar, but the only difference is that it, instead of storing a value, stores the address of another variable. So every variable basically consists of two things. Now you can see an address of the variable, where it is located, and what value it is present at that location. So a pointer allows us to store the location of another variable like that. So how do we create a pointer? Well, we just do it normally, except the fact that we put a pointer sign here, which is just a star sign. Now if you do that, it will create a pointer, but you should remember that you need to actually put the points. You can actually put it either with int or with x, but the variable is a pointer. So if you want to create multiple ones, you will have to add a pointer sign for every one of these. Anyway, so this essentially here creates a pointer. Now what does this mean is that let's actually rename this to xptr, because you can't have two variables of the same name. A pointer is just like any other variable, but it stores, instead of storing an integer value, now this stores the address of an integer. So how do we assign it to something? We can go ahead and say 0, but that would mean it now we are not setting the value of an integer to 0. Now we are setting it to point to memory location 0. So we can like go ahead and say is equal to x, and this will not go ahead and put the value of x is the pointer. So it will, if the value of x is for example 50, then it won't put 50 in the pointer, in 50 as an integer value, but instead the pointer will now try to access memory location number 50, and that location might not be available to our program. So this will result in an error at runtime. But if I put an and sign before the x, now this and sign means that we take the value, we don't actually take the value of x, but we instead take the memory location that x is being stored at, because when we are making our program, we don't actually know where x might be stored. It will be stored at a different point whenever we run the program. The operating system decides that. So this and allows us to find out where this is actually located, and we store that value in this pointer. Now what this allows us to do is let me go ahead and actually do this. So if I go ahead and go to print, I can print like values here. So we can go ahead and for example say d and say x here, and it will print 50 because that's the value of x. So let me add a new line here, and now we can change the code to this, and let's go over this and try to understand this. So this p here means that we are trying to print a pointer, which essentially means that we are printing the memory address of this x here, and we are taking our xptr, and this is storing a memory address, and we are going to print that memory address. And now here we are doing some kind of weird magic here, but this is actually because the printf actually needs it actually requires a void pointer. A void pointer essentially means that it's just like any memory address, except the fact that we don't know what is actually present in the memory. So we do know that like there is some like this memory location, we know that this pointer points to that memory location, but we don't know what will be in that memory location. And since printf only needs to print the actual address and not the value in that address, then we need to cast it to void pointer, so that we only give it the address. So casting here means that we are converting one type to another. So if you want to, in C, if you ever want to take a value of one type and convert it to another, then you put like brackets here, and you go ahead and say void, and you like before that value you put parentheses, and inside that you put the type you want to convert it into. And if that type if it is convertible, then it will convert it, and if it is not, it will give a compile time error. So currently what it does is that it converts this xptr from integer pointer to void pointer, so that the printf can read it. Now if I go ahead and run it, you can see that I've already compiled, and you can see it runs the program correctly, and this is the value of x, and this is the memory location that x is being stored at. So let me clear this, and let's just for doing it I'm going to compile it again and run it. You can see this is the actual location in the memory where we are storing the x variable, and this memory location can change, and this is actually being displayed in hexadecimal, as you can see, and that's the way printf does deals with pointers. But you can see the basic idea behind it. So this is a memory location. Now why would you want to use pointers? Well, we are going to actually learn about that in the next video, some actual use cases of pointers, but for now I want to show you some basic operations with pointer. Firstly, when you take an address, it is essentially a pointer. So if I don't do this and instead do and x, for example, then if I go ahead and run this, it should still print the address correctly. The reason is that this is just and x is also a pointer pointing to x, but it actually is not a variable, it's just like a constant value that we can't change. So if I make it a pointer now, and you can actually use pointer to change value. Now if you go ahead and say xptr is equal to let's say 0, if you try to do that, then it will change the address of xptr to 0. So if I go ahead and try to run this, it should give a warning. No, it doesn't actually. C gives you a lot of control over memory, which can be dangerous sometimes, but you can see now it says that the address is 0, and if I try to try to get this address, it will cause problems. Now the way you get the actual value of a pointer is by putting a pointer sign before it. This is known as dereferencing. This gets like the actual address of the variable, and then takes that address and checks what value is in that address and changes or gets it or whatever you want it to do. So if I go ahead and say xptr and I put this dereference operator, then it will change the actual value of whatever is pointed by x, which was originally this x variable, but now we have set the x pointer to be 0. That means that it will give an error because we are trying to access memory location 0, which is going to give an error. You can see that it does not work, and you can see the program exits with a code of 1 because it did not work. It gives a segmentation fault. But if I remove this, it will actually work, and the value of xptr, the value of x will be changed, not x pointer, the value of x will be changed. So you can see this stays same, but this is changed to 32. And let me put this back. Alright, so now let's go ahead and do something interesting. If I go ahead and instead of putting x here, I go ahead and do a dereference operator and put xptr, then what it will do is that it will put the value of x there instead of putting that. So yeah, so all of this is a basic way how you use and initialize pointers, but we are going to learn some actual use cases of this in the next video. For now, this is pretty much it. You should now have a basic understanding of pointers and try to experiment with different things so that you get a better grasp of this. It's a bit complicated things, and basic pointers are pretty easy to grasp, but later it can get problems, and we will learn the relationships between pointers and strings and arrays in the future 2 videos as well. So I will see you in those videos, and make sure to stay tuned for them. So and like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one, and bye.